Hi everybody, welcome back to the Robinson Curriculum course, and in this video we're going to talk about vocabulary, grammar, spelling, and penmanship. So let's just jump right in. Now both the CDs and online have vocabulary cards for all the books, and you can print these out yourself and you can fold them because the definition sentence is in the back and the word is in the front, so they can, quiz each other, quiz themselves, you can quiz them. Now you can, like I said, print them out, laminate them, make them a little bit more durable, or you can order them pre-made like this. And they're not laminated, but they do have a coating. They're very durable. I could see all 6 kids using these, no problem. And so this just takes a lot of work out of the equation for you, just to have them all done, ready, pre-made. Now, how I store them, and I'll show you, and I have videos on the cards and how I store them with one of those IKEA organizers. I just put them in an envelope. I've got the book number in the front, and as you can see in the corner of each card there's a book number. So this is number 4. This is the first set of vocabulary cards. They go with book number 4. So I've got the number here and the title here. And so when they're lined up in my organizer, I can easily see the titles and the number. So it's very easy. Once a child is done with the book and they're done with the vocabulary, we put it back in the envelope, and then they take out the new vocabulary and they put it in their binder. They have a little pouch, and we break it down because I find it more beneficial to just maybe work on 5, 7, 8, 10 cards at a time, depending on the stack. We focus on them just learning the definition to these words, and then when they mastered that, they go on to the next one. Some parents choose for the kids to have the spelling mastered and know the definition. That's up to you, however you want to do it. I personally just want them to know the definition. That's all. We have our own thing with spelling. I know spelling just improves over time, so I'm not really concerned about that. I'd rather they just know the definition and move on. I think some parents have questions on this. Where are these words coming from? Now, some of the words do come from the book, and there's a sentence, sometimes from the book itself, how it's used. Other words, however, are not. And so parents might be wondering, where do these words come from? Well, Dr. Robinson took all the words that were on the SAT test at the time, and I want to say maybe 75% or maybe less, 60% of words that he already had from the books were on the SAT list. But there was also this number of words that were not in any of the books, but were on the SAT test. So then he took those other words that were not in any of the books, but were on the test, and he just kind of divided them and peppered them in through the book list, right? So sometimes you might have a word that is not from that book and you're wondering where it came from. Well, it's just covering words that are also on the SAT exam, but just weren't in any of the books. So as far as I understand it, that is how the vocabulary words work. But you will see in the sentences that obviously, like the 4 naval heroes, those are words from the book. And so I see the value of them learning those words and those definitions because they're seeing it in the book. And I've talked about this earlier, that if you're only doing the vocabulary but you're not reading the books, then this is going to seem like a foreign language, because where else are you hearing gate, G-A-I-T, or crest? You're hearing it in the books, you're seeing it in the books. That's why the two really go well together, hand in hand. And if you're the opposite, if you're just reading the books but you're not doing the vocabulary, then there's going to be a lot that your child is not comprehending from the book because they don't know what the words mean. Unless they stop and ask you what these words mean, they're not getting all that they can out of it. So I think that's why the vocabulary and the books go together. They're very important. So that's what we do. We just learn the word and the meaning. Now, what if you're done with the book, but you're not done with the vocabulary? Well, I think one way to kind of make sure you get done with the vocabulary is just for the child to understand what the word means. They don't have to recite word perfect the definition on the back. I mean, that may be your rule, but I find if you just have them understand what it means and then being able to tell you from their own words the definition, then they pick it up a lot faster and you get through it a lot faster, and then you can move on to the next book. Now, do you want to use the vocabulary as kind of a pacing mechanism so that they don't go too fast with the books? You want to kind of pace them with the vocabulary? You can. Some people use the book as the pacing mechanism, and if they're done with the book, then they're done with the vocab, and then they go on to the next stack of vocabulary. This is something that's up to you as a parent. Generally, what I find just works at our house is if they review this every single day for 10 minutes, by the time they're done with the book, they're done with this. The main focus of the vocabulary for me is that they comprehend these words so that they're understanding their book better. So if they're done with the book, they're done with the book. They can be done with the vocabulary. Yes, you want to try to get as many of them right as possible, but at some point you just have to move on to the next book, to the next vocabulary list, and you can always review later on. I like to review them. I like to go through them, and this is why I like being involved in this part of it, in maybe quizzing them and asking them what the words mean, because I myself want to know what these words mean. And I will link below the videos on the vocabulary cards explaining more about the words and how I organize them. As you can see, when in the beginning of the books, the stacks are really not that big. But then as they get older, for example, this is book 131, A Tale of Two Cities. It is a lot more vocabulary cards, and then I had to use something like this. Not that many books I had to use something like this, but there's a few. The vocabulary just progresses with the book list as they mature and get older. Now let's talk about Professor K grammar and spelling. This is the spelling that I printed out. It's on the RC disc and online. You can print out your own copy. I recently did a video on this for my channel that I will also link below, explaining how it's just so easy and it's so effective. There's a lot of rules in the front that you read. However, really all that you do is just put up on the board one word family a day, 1 or 2 word families a day. I just fill up the board with as many word families as I can, and they look at it for a few minutes and then they test them. Then I just call out the words while they have their backs to the board and they write it down. Then they grade themselves. They turn around and see, how did I do? Oh, I got 1 wrong. And then they write that 1 word that they got wrong maybe 5 times until they get it, what they did wrong. But it's very easy when you do it this way because it's all the same word family. So what you could do is just go over the 1 spelling rule, and then there's just a bunch of word families. And really, if they just look at this repetition with the rule, they will understand it, and it will really help their spelling out. So that's just an easy way to work on spelling. 1 word family a day. You can go over the rule. They're seeing it with all that repetition. You write it on the board. They look at it for a few minutes. Then you test them. They rewrite the ones that they got wrong. And that's it. Easy. And then they're also just going to improve with spelling the more that they read, the older they get. It does work. This is just a great added on bonus for them to see these spelling rules in action. And I've read other books that talk about the 3 R's, and it also recommends to just do word families. So this is a great resource included with the Robinson curriculum. Also, she has a grammar book. Now, the grammar book is probably not as easy as the spelling book where you just do a word family a day. There's a primer, and then there is a more advanced grammar level. So you would have to look at it and see where your child falls into it. And one of the great things about it is that the exercises come straight from the RC book. So this is exercise number 1, the life of George Washington. And so the actual primer will tell you, circle all the verbs, or I forget if it's nouns. And you can print out a copy for each child or however you want to do it. Here's another example. Exercise 4 is from 5 Little Peppers Midway. So this is great for you as a parent if you want to see some samples of the books, if you want to be involved. This is something where if they're older, they can read and do themselves. If they're younger, maybe you want to do it with them and explain it. Some people just wait until high school age to even get started with this. So don't feel like you have to start this grammar at age 8 or 9. Even now with my older students being 10 and 12, I still am not very serious about it. But sometimes I will just break it out and we'll do a lesson together on the board. I'm sure in a couple years we'll probably really dive into this. But like Dr. Robinson said in his video, grammar is not something that you need every single year. This is something that you learn about it, you pick it up once, maybe you might have to review a little bit down the road, but it's not something that's meant to be studied over and over again each year. Now, something else included with the Robinson curriculum under the vocabulary is vocabulary exercises, and each book has its own worksheets. For example, this is 5 Little Peppers and How They Grew. There's a crossword puzzle with the vocabulary. There's a word search. Here's another word search. This is a sheet that just has the vocabulary words and the definitions, which is very helpful. And then here's a matching game where you can match it. So I really do like these worksheets. My kids do too. I have one daughter who really likes the crossword puzzles. I have another daughter who does not really like the crossword puzzles. She likes the word searches. So there's something for every level, I think. Maybe this is something better for ages 10 and up. If you see that your child is 7, 8, 9 and frustrated with them, then, skip it. Or you could just give them the matching game and the actual list that has the definition, the words and the definitions, and then give it to them so they can just match it up on their own. You can really utilize these how you think is best, what is most beneficial to you. Some parents use them, some parents don't. I just wanted you to be aware of them because some parents don't even know that they're out there. So these are under your vocabulary exercises. And I've done it in the past where I just printed it once and then I put them in sheet protectors so kids could use them again and again. However, I will say after I got the Epson printer and I was a lot more free with my printing, they just really enjoyed writing on it with an actual pencil or a pen rather than the dry erase markers. Okay, and last but not least is penmanship. Now, also included with the Robinson curriculum are these penmanship sheets, and I printed them before and I made a video on them, so I will link it below. And there's manuscript and there's cursive, so you can print those out and have them work on it. They probably enjoy that better than what I was doing, again, putting them in sheet protectors and using dry erase markers. I don't think they really enjoyed that. However, to be honest with you, I choose just to use something like this. Pen time writing. We love these pen time writing books. They're very easy for a child to do on their own. Easy for me to tell them, go start with your pen time writing. Maybe we're just not ready to start the school day or they're done with their essay and vocabulary. Then I tell them, hey, start your pen time writing book until it's lunchtime. And really anything like this, you're just paying for convenience because yes, you could just print the worksheets from RC online. There's a ton of different places online where you can print free things just like this. For me, it's just the convenience. Okay, so that's it for this video on grammar, spelling, vocabulary, and penmanship. Again, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments to this video. And I will see you in the next video where we go over reading.